I appreciate that. We checked. Never. Not a single time did the greatest player of all time wear a patch honoring himself. Wilt never did it. Russell never did it. Bird never did it. Magic never did it. Charles never did it. MJ never did it. But your guy, the most narcissistic, self-important human being on the planet, has now done it twice. And he's got more patches coming. But when the king narcissist breaks a record, even though he's a stat compiler and is only breaking records because of his longevity in the league, he wants to make sure everybody knows about it. So he picks the patch. The NBA says, yes, sir, you can wear the patch. We work for you, LeBron. And he embarrasses himself. So he's got one patch for turnovers because he's got more turnovers than anybody in the NBA. And he's got another patch coming for most field goals missed. What an absolute clown.
The second Craig Carton started talking about this, it was obvious this wasn't going to be another predictable NBA debate. This one hit differently. It felt personal. It sounded like someone was finally putting into words what plenty of fans have been thinking for a long time, but didn't want to say publicly. Then he brought up LeBron James and the jersey patch controversy, and the entire conversation shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't just about basketball anymore. It became a discussion about power, influence, and whether certain stars receive special treatment at the very top of the NBA.
And tell them now that he has, I think, made the most field goals in the history of the NBA, which is clearly a compiling stat, that he wants a new patch.
Here's what happened. The situation started getting attention after fans noticed something unusual about LeBron's jersey patch. On the surface, it seemed like nothing more than a branding or sponsorship issue. But the more people looked into it, the more questions it raised. Why does it seem like some rules don't apply to certain players? Why does every controversy somehow lead back to LeBron? Yet nothing ever seems to affect him. That's where Carton stepped in and made it clear he thought enough was enough. This is the part very few people are discussing. The NBA has always promoted its biggest stars, but with LeBron, Carton argued that it feels different. It no longer looks like simple marketing. It looks like protection. He claimed the league goes out of its way to preserve LeBron's image. Whether it's officiating, media coverage, or situations like the jersey patch controversy, the outcome always seemed to work in LeBron's favor. And when you look at that over a career spanning more than 20 years, Carton argued it begins to look less like a coincidence and more like a pattern.
It apparently works for him that they've approved this, because they do have to approve it after all, that it's time for him to wear a new patch on his jersey.
Now, let's look at this more closely. The jersey patch controversy may sound like a minor issue, but it points to something bigger. These patches are linked to money, branding, and league-wide agreements. They're meant to be standardized, but when fans noticed inconsistencies involving LeBron, they started asking questions. Are certain players receiving special treatment behind the scenes? Are sponsors being handled differently depending on whose jersey is being worn? Carton didn't hold back. He said what others have avoided saying. The NBA has a favoritism problem, and while it isn't just about LeBron, he's the biggest example of it. He pointed out that other players have been fined, criticized, or even sidelined over much smaller issues. Yet LeBron somehow moves through controversy as though it never affects him. That's where fans begin to get frustrated.
When John Stockton became the all-time assist leader in NBA history, at no point did he wear a patch that said all-time leader assists. Never did it.
Is where things become concerning, because once fans start losing trust and fairness, the entire league begins to feel scripted. That feeling is already growing online. People are questioning officiating in big games, questioning MVP races, and questioning media coverage. When LeBron continues to be at the center of these discussions, it only adds more fuel to the fire, whether it's fair or not. Let's put the numbers into context for a moment. LeBron is one of the most heavily covered athletes in history. Every move he makes is analyzed. Every game is on national television. That level of attention naturally brings influence. But influence becomes an issue when it starts affecting outcomes. Carton hinted at this by comparing LeBron's situation to other superstars who don't appear to receive the same level of protection.
Matter of fact, in the history of the NBA, for every individual player that at some point had set the record for the most of blank, not a single one of them ever wore a patch on his jersey to acknowledge his greatness.
Think about players like Kevin Durant or James Harden. Both have dealt with heavy criticism, media pressure, and even scrutiny from the league over their decisions. But with LeBron, even when situations become controversial, the narrative somehow ends up working in his favor. That's not an accident. That's influence.
That LeBron James is only about LeBron James. For him to want and to wear a patch, nobody else wants to wear it. Nobody else is going to wear it.
Then there's the media side of it. Major sports networks often present LeBron as untouchable, almost as if criticizing him is off limits. Carton strongly pushed back against that. He challenged the idea that LeBron should be protected from criticism simply because of his legacy. That's where the debate becomes interesting. A legacy is supposed to be built on greatness, not protection. Here's the part nobody is talking about. When young players enter the league and see this, what message does it send? That if you become big enough, the rules no longer apply to you. That branding matters more than fairness. That's a dangerous precedent for the future of the NBA. Now, let's connect this to what's happening around the league today. The NBA is in a strange place. There's incredible talent everywhere. Players like Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, and Victor Wembanyama are taking over. The league should be moving into a new era, but it still feels like everything revolves around LeBron. That's not entirely his fault, but becomes a problem when it overshadows the rest of the league.
He's not going to wear a patch that says most missed field goals, which he also has the record for. He's not going to wear a patch that says most turnovers in the history of basketball, which he also has the record for. But he is going to wear a patch, a one of one, that says most field goals made. Now,
this is where young players often make a mistake. They try to follow the path of established superstars without realizing the system isn't the same for everyone. What worked for LeBron won't necessarily work for them because they don't have the same level of influence or protection. That creates frustration both inside and outside the league. Carton also brought up something many people don't like to admit. The NBA is a business first. If LeBron drives ratings, sells jerseys, and keeps attention on the league, there's an incentive to keep him happy. But at what cost? When business decisions begin affecting competitive integrity, fans start to notice, and that shift is already happening. Social media is full of debates about favoritism. Fans are more outspoken than ever. They're breaking down plays, analyzing calls, and questioning the narratives. Every time a controversy involving LeBron happens, it strengthens that belief. The timing of all this also matters. LeBron is approaching the end of his career. Every season feels like a farewell tour. The league wants to make the most of that. It wants those storylines. It wants those moments. But when that starts extending into things like officiating or sponsorship situations, it creates tension. This is where it becomes a concern because the NBA's credibility is at stake. If fans begin believing that outcomes are influenced by star power instead of performance, it changes the way they watch the game. It stops feeling like pure competition and starts feeling like entertainment in the worst sense. Carton, whether people agree with him or not, brought that discussion into the spotlight. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. LeBron's legacy is already established. Championships, records, and longevity. He's accomplished it all. Controversies like this don't erase his greatness, but they do make it more complicated. They add another layer to how people will remember him. Was he dominant? Absolutely. Was he influential? Without a doubt. But was the system always fair around him? That's the question people are beginning to ask. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Legacy isn't only about what you accomplish. It's also about how you accomplish it. When there's even a perception of favoritism, it changes the way people view everything else. That's why this debate isn't going away anytime soon. It's no longer just about a jersey patch or one player. It's about the integrity of the league, the fairness of the system, and the future of how the NBA operates. So let me ask you this. If the NBA really is favoring certain players, is that simply smart business, or is it hurting the sport? And if LeBron is at the center of it, does that damage his legacy, or does it show just how much influence he has? Either way, one thing is certain. This conversation isn't going away quietly.